There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
Sunday, June 9th, big boxing weekend. Adrian Broner fought what I doubt is going to be his last fight. I think we're going to see Adrian Broner fight again. But you know what else was today? Induction weekend for the Boxing Hall of Fame. Some great fighters. Michael Moore, Ricky Hatton, Diego Corrales, Ivan Calderon. Just a great weekend. I wish I could have made it to the Boxing Hall of Fame. But you had some great fighters make the hall. Want to know if anybody what I saw, Adrian Broner looked exactly how people thought he would look. When he fought Bill Hutchinson, the lawyer, he didn't look good. He was showing declining physical skills. And Blair the Flair Cobbs beat him. I thought, I've heard maybe he won 2 rounds. Got my man. What's up, Matthew? 27-79. But Broner, unfortunately, I think he's going to fight again. And, it's his choice. And a lot of people said he wasted his talent, but maybe this is what he was supposed to be. And he did win titles in 3 divisions. It's not what it was once upon a time, but there's still fighters like Ryan Garcia who have never won a belt in this day and age of 4 titles, and he's never won a belt. So Broner, a lot of people rag on him for wasting his talent, but maybe this is what he was supposed to be. I thought Broner, when he fought Antonio DeMarco, when he destroyed DeMarco at 135, it looked like he had the makings of a special fighter. And then he couldn't make 135, and he jumped up to 147. Yeah, I agree. I think he'll. But what kind of money is he going to get? I mean, when you lose to Blair Cobbs, I don't know where he's supposed to go. Yeah, you know what? I saw that. I really don't like to. Look, I know on YouTube now I see everyone, they're throwing up Ryan Garcia arrested, and that gets people to watch. But we don't know anything about the case. What bothers me about this now is that now Ryan Garcia is back on X, and he's like reaching out for help. And after that fight, after the Haney fight, he basically laughed at everyone and said he was trolling him and said we were all idiots and fools for believing all that. So are we supposed to believe this now? So I'll let that play out. Matthew, I'm not. I could have a Ryan Garcia. I mean, the biggest show I had the last few weeks, the one that had the most people watch was a week ago. I had Randy Gordon, former New York athletic commissioner, on, and we talked about the whole case, and I got a lot of people watching because of the content. I just, yeah, look, you're right. He has. Yo, what's up, brother? Let's go. He has, but I just don't like to talk about that stuff. I didn't want to come on here talking about exactly, Matthew. That's what I'm saying. So is he going to say, is he trolling people now? Are we supposed to believe him now when he laughed at people for all the stuff he did before the first fight? So now what I did notice is this kind of made me laugh, that Devin and Ryan are on the same page. And this is yesterday before Garcia was arrested. But, they're talking about the fact that they haven't gotten paid. And I got to give it to Oscar. Oscar fired back with his own response. As we have always done with all our fighters, Golden Boy paid Ryan and Devin exactly what they are owed under their contracts. As with all pay-per-view events, revenue comes in over time, and additional payments will be made when more money is received. If they aren't aware of this fact, we would hope that their managers are, or perhaps Ryan and Devin, should pay more attention to their contracts than their social media feeds. So there we go. And I doubt Oscar wrote that. Whoever wrote that, they were on point with that. But it's funny to see Ryan and Devin together on this point. So, all right. So Jeremy says they have 60 days to pay. It's been only 49 days. I don't know. I don't know anything about the contracts. And when it comes to pay-per-views, the extra money, how much time you have to pay. All I know is I've been with fighters and they get paid after the fight. Like they get, now I don't know when it comes to the multi-million-dollar checks. I don't know, but the smaller scale fights, they literally get paid right after the fight. So, yesterday, and I don't have the picture, but your boy, 22 years ago, see that picture? It's all blurry. 22 years ago was Lewis Tyson. In Memphis, Tennessee. It's crazy. Saturday, June 8, 2002, for the World Heavyweight Championship. Never thought I would see a World Heavyweight Championship in Memphis. I remember that like it was yesterday, and the coolest thing about that whole thing was it was an HBO Showtime production, literally, because if you remember, Lennox Lewis was with HBO, Mike Tyson was with Showtime, so they had two crews there calling the fights. They split the announcers up, and whichever fighter won, that network would get the delayed broadcast. So HBO won. So there's another team that broadcast that never saw the light of day. So I was ringside for that. I was pretty much the unofficial timekeeper. I need to go through some pictures of that fight because I'm sure there's pictures of me ringside. But the timekeeper used my watch because his watch was not good. So that was 22 years ago, which is crazy. But I did watch now before the ESPN show. And J-Man, you might have watched this, but I watched Box Lab Promotions on the Zone, and my boy Curran Bhatia was calling fights. Curran and I worked at HBO for a long time together, and Michael Woods was on there, and Claudia Rejos was on there, and I thought the main event, Atif Overton, he's a good-looking light heavyweight. He looks like he has some talent. So he won in the main event. Fought this guy named Keenan Cruz, who was really odd. He's 8-4. And then last night, of course, the main event. I thought Xander Zayas looked good. He beat Teixeira convincingly. Never really hurt him. We'll see whether or not he becomes a big star. I don't know if he's ready for Zoo or Fundora or guys like that. I don't know. I mean, he's only 21 years old. I don't think they should rush him. There's no need to rush him, even though he might want to be rushed at this time. What you got, Matthew? I'll tell you a boxing fact I bet you didn't know. Ronald Reagan refused to give Muhammad Ali a boxing license, but then Ali supported him as president. You figured that one out. I remember that. Yeah, because Reagan was governor of California back then, and no one wanted to give Ali a license. They called him a draft dodger and everything else. So yeah, that doesn't shock me. It shocks me a little bit that he supported him as president, but I do remember that. Let me get the link in here. All right, let's get the link in. But Xander Zayas, I thought he looked good. I just don't know. I don't know if he's going to be a star. But what I do know, you need to subscribe to One Round with George, and here's why. Some people give away money, $10,000, $50,000. Check this out.
Subscribe to my YouTube page and you can win a once-in-a-lifetime, no expenses paid trip to check out the boxing memorabilia in my garage and in my home office. You can come hit the heavy bag and go through the hundreds of boxing magazines I have, and even take a picture with a life-size Oscar De La Hoya cardboard cutout that I took when I was at HBO. Subscribe now for your chance to win all of this.
So there you go. And that cardboard, I got to get that behind me now. It's downstairs, but authentic Oscar, life-size Oscar De La Hoya cardboard cutout. But there you go. Shushu looked really good last night. I don't know. I don't know about him and the monster. I think there's other people. There's other people for him to fight. All right, hey, book your ticket. Come hit the heavy bag and take some of those pictures. But also had the induction weekend. So I haven't seen much video on this, but obviously Diego Corrales, the main reason why he got in is that first Castillo fight, which was probably the best fight I ever saw in my life. The most exciting fight I ever saw in my life. I mean, every single round was just a back and forth war. And then that last round, the way Castillo won it, that got him this ticket into the Hall of Fame. And I can remember I was working for HBO when he and Mayweather were the top guys at 130. Jeremy says top 5 fight of all time. Incredible fight. Incredible. Just an incredible fight. And I remember when those two guys were the two top 130 pounders in the world. And it was incredible. Corrales was 5'11" and 130. And when they fought, when they had the unification, Corrales and Floyd, I was in the truck in the HBO truck doing graphics. I have a credential somewhere. And I remember Castillo was going through all sorts of problems. I think he was he might have gone to jail, but he was in the locker room eating a sandwich, and we just knew that he was not going to have a good night. And that was one of the better fights of his career, but that's well deserved. But Ricky Hatton, it's nice to see Ricky get in. I remember, obviously, I was in Vegas when he fought Floyd Mayweather. I worked on that 24/7. That was the second 24/7 that HBO did. The first one was De La Hoya Mayweather. The second one was Mayweather Hatton, and they gave us tickets to the fight. And I was rooting for Floyd. I thought that I thought Ricky Hatton had no shot, and he fought tough, but he lost. And who can forget that knockout he had against Manny Pacquiao? But he had a great career, and it's well deserved. And Michael Moore, Matthew, rather a photo with the cardboard Oscar. You know what? You might be safer with the cardboard one. So that's probably the better choice. But that the Ricky Hatton fight, the Hatton Mayweather fight, the thing that I can remember the most is I was at the MGM on the 17th floor, 20th floor. And even after the fight, the fans were screaming. You could hear them singing, "There's only one Ricky Hatton." So there's no fans that support their fighters more than the Brit fans. And another thing I remember very clearly after that fight, walking around the MGM, Wesley Snipes was walking around. I can remember that. And he had a bunch of people around him, and I couldn't believe how short he was. He's a really short dude, but yeah, Wesley Snipes was walking around the MGM that night. Oh, I wish I had a picture of Floyd, of Roger Mayweather. My segueing, we'll get back to the Hall of Fame in a second, but one of the best dinners I ever was on was with Roger Mayweather. And for the 24/7, the producer that was in the Mayweather camp, I kept saying, "Listen, I'm going to be in Vegas for the fight. So if you can set up a dinner with Roger, please do it, because I want to have dinner with him. I got to have dinner." Because, Roger used to say, "You don't know crap about boxing." That's what he would tell people. They don't know anything about boxing. So we end up it was the night before the fight, and we went to some steakhouse in the old Las Vegas section. I don't remember the name of the steakhouse, but it was Roger and a couple of his friends and me and like 3 or 4 24/7 guys on 24/7. And it was the best dinner I had. And I've told this story before, but I'm sitting across from Roger, and my guy Jackson, who was the producer, the field producer in the Mayweather camp, he's like, "Hey, Roger, see this guy right here? he knows more boxing than anyone you've ever met. So of course, I'm thinking to myself, why did you say that, man? And Roger looks at me, he's like, you think you know boxing? And I was like, yeah. So this dude literally quizzed me on all these Midwest fighters because he's from the Midwest, and all I know is I passed the test, and the last question was, he said, I forget how he phrased it, but he said when Joe Frazier won the gold medal in the Olympics, which I think it was 64 Olympics, because Clay was 60, Frazier 64, Foreman 68. So he said, when Frazier won that gold medal, he wasn't supposed to be in those Olympics. Who beat him in the trials? And I remembered it was Buster Mathis Sr. And that was the one. I got all the questions right. I don't remember the other ones. But after that, he looked at me, said, you do know boxing. And we had a great night. So, and it was a big bill too. Back in those days, we had a corporate card with HBO. And we could expense meals to a certain degree. And this bill was like over $1,000 because Roger and his friends, they were getting drinks and all this food. So back then you could expense bills like that. You couldn't a few years later. But yeah, man, it was a great night. And I'm sorry, but I knew what was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen. But let me get this back up. So, yeah, Wally Matthews, he's a writer. Fred Sternberg, a great publicist. I've known Fred for a long time. Fred was always, because I did a lot of work with Manny Pacquiao, he was always in the gym, always at the wild card with Freddie, with Manny. He would always set things up. He was a liaison. He's a class act, and he deserves to be. And Nick Charles, I never met. Rest in peace. And Jackie Callan, of course, the famous Jackie Callan. I vividly remember when she managed James Toney. Something crazy, and I need to rectify this, but I need to watch that movie. If you don't know, they did a movie on her, and I forget the actress. Somebody's going to remember. I forget the actress that played her, and it was a big time actress. But she's well deserving to be in the Hall of Fame, and I can't believe I forgot the name of the movie. But yeah, I need to. I'm pretty up on my boxing movies, and for some reason, I can't remember that now. Matthew, why don't you write a book about your boxing experiences? I don't know about a book, Matthew, but I wish I would have taken more pictures. I really do. Like that night, I should have a picture. When I'm telling this story, Meg Ryan. Thank you, George. Meg Ryan. Okay. I wish I took more pictures because I should have a picture with Roger. I mean, I had dinner. I had lunch in Manny Pacquiao's gym in the Philippines. It was just me and Manny. I should have all these pictures, but it was just work. It was, I wish I took more pictures. But it was a special day, class of 2024. And congratulations to everybody who made it. And there's a link again. I'm not going to make this long, but getting back to Xander Zayas, I thought he was solid. He fought a former champ and he won 10 rounds for the first time. He didn't look sensational. I mean, the crowd wants knockouts and they want to fall in love with their fighters. I don't know. I still don't know. I think Xander Zayas, right now, I don't think he's ready, but it's okay. He's only 21 years old. He's only 21, and I'm jumping around. But Manny Pacquiao, I just read something this week. I'm going to do a watch along with a piece that was done on Manny Pacquiao, and I was in it, and it was in the Philippines. I went to the Philippines when he fought Marco Antonio Barrera in the rematch, and it was a big deal that an HBO producer was there. So Diane Castillejo, who is a reporter over there, a sports journalist, she was always in Manny's camp, and I interviewed her for the show that we were doing, and she interviewed me, and it was pretty cool to be interviewed. So the piece is somewhere It's somewhere on my YouTube channel, but I'm going to. It's a short thing, but I'm gonna put that up and watch it. And I did read that Manny Pacquiao is talking about fighting Barrios, and Manny Pacquiao is 45 years old. How he's going to get a shot at an interim belt? Oh shoot!
What's up, George?
You got the see now. Look
I
at the
do.
background. Look at the you got
I
your.
know the camera is not great right now. I haven't got to mess with it, but I'm here. I told you I would be on camera eventually.
I
The
like
hair,
it.
the hair looks like the Karate Kid 2 villain, but it's pulled back in the 90s ponytail right now.
But that's a
But
good.
I had to wear the headset, so you know.
That's a good villain from Karate Kid too.
He was a dick. I guess he was good at being a dick, though, right?
Exactly. Hey, what you think about Xander?
Man, I thought it was where he should be, exactly
Right.
where he should be. 4 fights from now, I think Xander could bang with any of them up there.
Yep.
A couple years, give him 2 years, 4 fights, maybe 5 in 2 years, 18 months, maybe. But he needs to step up. I'd like to see him take on another southpaw. That was his first one, and for his first one, man, I give him an A.
Yeah,
That's
of course.
his first southpaw, and his opponent. I don't know. I thought they gave him too much credit. They were like, "Oh, he's being so savvy," and I was like, "Dude, no, he stopped wanting to fight after the 4th round.
Oh, you
He
talking about
did not-
Sarah?
Oh, he didn't want to be there,
No,
man.
he didn't.
He was on he was on skates, man. He
Yeah.
might as well have been in the roller rink,
Yeah.
shuffle skating, man. I mean, what were you doing? He would throw a wild haymaker every 10, 12 seconds and try to catch him sleeping. But I thought, man, Xander's D looked good. And I thought, I don't know, man. I thought it was an A+ performance for where he should be right now.
Yeah, and even after the fight, they were saying, because I think Bradley tends to Tim usually he doesn't look at the negative, but he points out what fighters aren't doing, and basically, just because he didn't knock the guy out doesn't mean it was a bad performance. He's 21 years old, and he controlled this guy who's been in with some really good fighters. So
he dominated. He didn't
he's
just
getting
control.
better.
He completely swept. Yeah, he made him look like I was like, this is a former champ, and they kept going. Well, he's 33 years old, and I was like, what are you talking about? Crawford's 37. Like,
Exactly.
What are you talking about? This guy's 3 years removed from being a world champ. Like, what?
George says Jeremy is real. So he finally got. You're just not a figment. You're just not a.
I'm finally real, Georgie. I'm finally real, man. I tried to make it to George's live earlier, and I didn't make it in time. So yeah, I tried, George. I'll make it to the next one. Other George.
Yeah. You know what else I watched? I watched some of the Box Lab on DAZN.
Yeah. The main event was pretty cool, though. It was a good.
Well, I like.
Anyways,
I like Overton. He. Oh man, hang on. Matthew said his camera's so bad he looks like David.
I know, and it's actually a good one. I just haven't. I don't know, man. I have no excuses. I am the tech dumb dad.
Hey, well, look, it's a step up. At least you got the camera working. But Overton looks like he's pretty good, man. Light heavyweight. The guy he fought, Keenan Cruz, really didn't. He was a weird type of fighter. He's real short and looked like he really didn't want to fight. But listen, man, this still kills me because DAZN, they don't even you can't even hear the corner audio on the Box Lab shows. Like they don't even have a microphone.
Let's call it what it is. Eddie is so damn cheap. He only cares about what happens in the ring.
Yeah,
that's what makes him his real money. Eddie don't care about production. That's obvious.
But there's camera mics. There's camera mics that even it's not the best audio, but even if they picked up the camera mics, you'd hear something. But whatever, man. I mean, I'm always talking about that, and
My wife got
it
really mad watching the Xander fight because she was like, "Wait a minute. We've been hearing the corners in every single fight up till now, and we watched the prelims too." So, and she was like, "Now that it's the main event, we get an ad in between the rounds every damn time." She was like, "What is going on?" Like, I wanted to hear the corners. Well, that's part of it, man. I don't know, man. It's so disappointing. The main event, and I can't hear what Xander's coaches are saying to him.
which is weird because usually on ESPN, because I know they have to go to commercials, but they usually get all their stuff out of the way in the prelims so that in the main event they'll be able to go to the corner more often than not. And yeah, that was kind of weird.
It was weird, man. I didn't like it. I don't like it. I don't like DAZN's production is it's so far off from HBO and Showtime. Like we have a measuring stick. We do. And it ain't my fault. We have a measuring stick, and that's HBO and Showtime. Everyone who came after that is going to be measured up to them for people who watch them. And they fail miserably when it comes to production. ESPN does too. I'm sorry.
Now,
We
I
don't
will
get
say
enough
last
storytelling.
I know. Well, I know. Last
We
night
don't get
though,
enough build up.
that DAZN show, the live producer was a guy that I know that used to be with Showtime. So they had a decent producer. It's just I don't know, man. Well, listen, because I can get down a rabbit hole that nobody cares about except you and me when you start talking about production.
I was even more excited to talk to you tonight about Shushu and his weight division specifically.
Shoot, look good.
Man, there was something in his eyes when he was fighting that fight. I know that a lot of people were thinking, oh, man, he's off to a slow start against this guy. And I kept watching, and I was like, man, there's something in his eyes where he is like, nah, man, I'm going to play with my food. I think I'm going to play with my food and then show out. And he did that, man. It looked like he was just setting up and playing with his food. It was like a cat with a mouse, man. It was like,
You know what was cool is that the monster was there, and I think he was there just to see that fight because he left.
I do too.
Right when it was like so
Immediately. I loved it, man. I
knew he was in New York because he was at a Yankee game because I was watching the Yankee Dodger game. He was at the game the day before, and then he came
Ohtani, yeah.
Shushu fight. That was apparent.
I think they're sizing each other up. I think in a way recognizes that Shushu has the kind of respect for him that you should have for elite fighters, and it goes beyond the bullshit of boxing, the shit talking and all that. It's a warrior recognizing another warrior's elite skill and going, hey man, we could mix it up, and that might be all time great. And I hope
to have him there. And look, man, I mean, Shushu is. Let's get him a shot. Let's get him a shot.
He deserves. He's ready.
Yeah,
he's ready. Xander is a few fights away, but no, Shushu is ready.
All right. So here's the fight I really want to talk about.
Uh-oh.
The Barn Burner.
Oh no.
One that I hope turns into a trilogy.
We're talking about the guy that spit chiclets.
You know something? You know what's funny? I thought I was going to be able to see that fight without paying for it, and where I usually go, it wasn't working. So I thought about it. I was looking on X, and it was like the fourth round. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't pay money for it. I couldn't
do it either.
I saw you can see the fight now on YouTube, and I watched all the highlights. And I listened to people. I actually went on Sean Zatel's YouTube, and Sean, I don't usually go to YouTube because I usually watch the fights. And he did a watch along, and it was really good. And he had his wife sitting next to him too. He did a dope.
No way.
Yeah, he did a really good job. And then I watched the highlights, and Broner is exactly what you thought. He's fading. He's 34, but he's like really 54. He's fading, man. He's got heart.
I think when Broner was 24, he was 34. I think he came into it old, man. He just what happened? I don't know, man.
That lifestyle. That
ego, man. That ego. He fed into his own ego too early in life. You can
Well,
feed into your ego at a certain point. Jordan did it. Canelo's done it. There's been many examples of guys who actually feed into their ego. That's why we're getting this Canelo who's like, I'm the king. Who gives a fuck what Benavidez wants? Like, bada, bada, bada. Who cares what the fans want? Eventually, you can feed into your ego. Jordan did it. Jordan's a notorious ego maniac, man, but he's the GOAT. Yeah, I said it. I said it.
JD Blanca says you should have seen the fight for yourself. Broner let his hands go more than he did against Pac, at least. Yeah, but what's that saying? You know.
He threw 184 total punches.
So Broner, there was a time I thought he was going to be great, but he thought he was Floyd, man. He started calling himself about billions. I remember him burning money in clubs and things like that. But he's. I hope he doesn't turn into a tragedy because it doesn't seem like things are going to go well for him.
Oh, and Don King will promote him for another 5 fights if he wants to get beat up. I got news for you.
Don's got him and Blair Cobbs, so they who knows
will
they might
promote
fight
them
again.
both. Don will promote them both until they're not right, man. I don't like that guy, man. That's another day. But
Broner's 34. He's going to be 35 soon.
he's got another 3 years in him as far as Don's concerned, maybe 5. I got news for you. Don will promote you as long as you will put butts in seats, man. He don't care about pay-per-view numbers. Look at the production value of that shit. As long as we're talking about production value.
Oh,
Lord.
I don't know who the commentators were. I know Christy Martin was on there. Shout out to her, Hall of Famer.
Well, yeah, but
it was what it was. It was exactly what you thought it was going to be. I have a buddy. I won't say his name, but he's a commentator, and he's young. He's like working here and there. So like a year ago, he called me up and he was like, "Hey," he left me he texted me. He said, "Hey man, I want to ask you something about Don King." I said, "All right." I called him. He was going to call a card for Don King, and they wanted him down there all week to work on it, but they weren't talking about how much they were going to pay him. And Don got on the phone.
You're an intern.
Don got on the phone with him at some point and said, "Hey, we shook hands. I thought you said, you were going to be a man and do it." And it turns out he backed out. He said, "I can't." But he was nervous because he said, "Hey, I know Don King, he killed a guy once." He was actually scared. Like, is something going to happen to me? I said, "Bro, those days are over. You don't have to worry about anyone from DKP." But he was still worried that it was going to be working all week, and he probably wouldn't have gotten paid. So he did the right thing by not.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I said, Don would have said, "I thought you were an intern. Sorry, no check here." Yeah, Don King, I could do an entire 4 hours on him, and I have not liked that guy for a long time. Man, since the Ali days. I mean, come on, he's been a snake in the grass forever.
Well, we can leave it off with the fact that he put a damaged Ali in there against Larry Holmes.
Yeah, man,
and took money from his purse at the end. So yeah, man, he is what he is. Now this Saturday isn't the Tank Martin fight. That's an Amazon fight.
Yeah. Yep.
Is that a pay-per-view?
Oh no. You know what? I haven't looked yet.
I don't know if it's a pay-per-view or not.
Yeah, it is pay-per-view. Amazon Prime. Sure is. Let's see how much.
At least 70. It's going to be at least 70.
$74.95.
There's no shame now with these. now these pay, like, there's no shame, man.
At least the Zone used to give you 20 back when you ordered one. 75. What's the card look like? I didn't even look at the card.
I haven't even looked at the card.
Yeah, I mean 75 though. I like
That's 89.
Tank.
89.
I mean, I like Frank, but man, I just don't think he's there. I don't think. I know Tank has a questionable resume, but the eye test, man. When I look at both of them, Tank's gonna get him. Uh, Eighth or ninth round.
He's going to get him. I would be less upset with this fight if it wasn't a pay-per-view, but I'm not the decider of what makes a pay-per-view and what doesn't, because
I mean, charge me 40, and I'll be fine. I bet if they were asking 40 for Broner Cobbs, I would damn sure pay 40 for Frank and Tank.
$40 for Broner Cobbs.
I considered 40 for Broner Cobbs just for shits and giggles. I would damn sure do it for Tank and Frank. I think that's going to be a good 9 round fight. It'll be at least interesting. It'll be better than the Garcia fight. It'll be better than maybe the best fight since he's had since Pitbull.
Yeah, and Garcia, I don't like to I looked on YouTube tonight, and everybody's talking about Garcia, and the headlines are like Garcia's arrested, and I don't really like to get too deep in that. The only thing I'm curious about is if
he's taking on a character. He is a persona now. He's going to always be that.
He had all that stuff that happened to him leading up to the Haney fight. I'm not even going to talk about all the stuff he said. People were concerned about him, and then he laughs at everyone after, said, "Ha ha, you guys are idiots. You believe everything you read? Come on, man." And now he's back on X, and he's asking help. Help me, please. And so are you trolling again or what? So come on, man.
$15,000 worth of damage is a headline. That's nothing to a millionaire. That's nothing to that hotel. That hotel is 15 grand. That's what one of their love seats costs us in the room. What are you talking about? So it's nothing but a headline. It's feeding into that persona. He's become a character. He's a character outside the ring, and he is what he is inside the ring.
But he's
going to sell tickets, George. He's still going to sell pay-per-views just because he's that erratic.
But he was in the hospital, and he's asking for help. And look, if his mom is going through stuff, I feel for him. I do, because that's your mom. But are you going to laugh at us in a month and say, you guys are idiots for listening to my stuff? He wants this attention, and then when he gets it, he laughs at you. So
I don't care. I don't. It makes me feel weird whenever you take it public, though. If it was really about what you're going through with your mom, you keep that internal. That's a family thing. No one on the outside is gonna really. You're just looking for attention at that point because you have that kind of reach, right? You're trying to. You're putting it out there. You want empathy, sympathy, whatever it is you're wanting. You can get it because you have that kind of reach.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, you're gonna get it.
He puts everything out there. You remember when he told the world, "Hey, my baby boy got born. I love him." And then 10 minutes later, he said, "Yeah, and I'm divorcing
my baby mama." Yeah.
Please give me privacy because this is a private matter. No, now it isn't a private matter.
So to me, this is just falling in line with what he's been doing. It's like I don't know. It's like a WWF persona in a boxer's world. In the world of professional boxing, that's what it's like to me.
Well, JD Blanca, JD's been in here for a little bit. I can't believe PBC made Frank versus Tank while both are in their prime. So he's big on this. I'm so thankful for this one. Frank's underrated and Tank's overrated. Trust me.
Look, I'm not underrating Tank. I mean Frank. I just don't think he's. I think you're underrating Tank. To be honest, Tank has the IQ, and man, he's so patient. That's a lot of his best attribute is maybe his patience. He will wait because he knows he can get you.
And Tank,
that confident to give away rounds early. I mean,
well, that's the thing. He's inflappable. Nothing bothers him in the ring. But also when he fought Pitbull. When he hurt his hand, he clearly hurt his hand. I remember, and he boxed Pitbull
outboxed.
So beautifully. I mean,
One hand.
it was a beautiful exhibition. It really was, and that shows you that he's hurt, so he's got to go to another plan. And a lot of fighters, Tito Trinidad only had, if Tito couldn't knock you out with that left hook, he was in trouble. He was in trouble. Bernard did it. Winky Wright did it.
Broken down. Yep, he would get
So,
broken down.
So the fact that he's got more than one game plan, but Frank Martin like you don't put everything on the last fight, but he struggled with Hartunian. He struggled. I remember he struggled in that fight. I think it's a good fight. Like I don't mind this fight at all.
It'll be entertaining. It will be. I promise. It'll be a good fight to watch. I just don't think in the end Frank has what it takes. I think Tank is up there, man. I just the eye test, man. Even with you, if you look at his resume, and now we can say a couple of his opponents even look better. The wins over them look even better now. Pitbull Cruz has made a great comeback. Barrios, yeah, exactly. I mean, I know he chinned Raleigh, but apparently, Raleigh can get chinned by anybody who has any significant amount of pop. He just don't have the defense.
The Kegi, who are you picking in that fight? Are you picking Frank or Tank? But because Frank getting an early lead after 8 and is leading 6-2, 5-3, those last 4 rounds when Tank really comes on will be very interesting.
Yeah. I don't see Tank giving up a 6-2 lead, even a 5-3. I see Tank maybe giving up the first couple, maybe splitting 1-3 the first 4 rounds, and then really starting to pick it up and turn it on, and then end him by the 9th. I don't think it goes the distance. I really don't. I think this is going to be, especially for Tank, he's going to want to prove a point. I've been away. Y'all must have forgot about me type shit. Excuse my language, but yeah, I think he's gonna come with that kind of attitude.
I totally I'm sleeping on this, man. That's Benavidez and Vodzik. That's on the undercard.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
David Benavidez. That's a good card. Gary Antoine Russell.
Yeah. No, I think it's.
That's a good card.
Yeah,
Carlos
it really is.
Gausha. Yeah, that's a. I mean, it's pay per view, so whatever. I mean, but it's a good card.
I think Vozdik's gonna. I think he'll lose. I think Benavidez gets him, but I think he makes it a more interesting fight than Plant did. I think we're gonna see something from Vozdik. It'll ultimately fail him, but I think we're gonna see that maybe Benavidez is not quite ready for a Bivol or a better Biev.
So I wonder if this will be like, maybe this is a litmus test. If he kind of struggles a little bit, maybe he goes back to 68. But if he blows this guy away, then you got to think he's not going back.
The only thing, I think the only thing that Vozdik has going against him from making it an interesting fight is that layoff, man. Like he is not active.
Well, I mean, he fought 3 times last year, but he fought guys that no one's ever heard of. And it was 4 years between he fought Beterbiev in 2019.
Yeah, I don't count. That was sparring. Those were tune-ups.
He's also 37, so
I think he makes it tougher than people think. I still think Benavidez stops him. Maybe, I don't know, man. I see that one maybe going 7, 8, 9.
But that's a good card. I think I knew it was a pay-per-view because Amazon, I think all they're doing are pay-per-views. You know how they promise that they're going to have regular fight cards? They're not doing that. Everything they do is a pay-per-view. And I don't know what's going on with PBC, because if you read certain people, they say that Amazon, it's not going anywhere because PBC is falling apart.
So PBC is going to take the money and run, and maybe they ruined boxing period with Amazon. Who knows? Maybe Amazon will go, all right, we tried with PBC, let's try with somebody else that's maybe more competent.
Amazon, though, PBC is paying for all, like Amazon's not footing the bill. They're just providing PBC is paying for everything, which wasn't the deal with them before. So
that's a true test then. What can you bring to the table that will make us want to put on free fights? Maybe that's what Amazon's saying.
Well, it's June. When was that first fight on Amazon? Was it in March?
Yeah,
So it's only been a few months. March, April, May, June.
it was a good card, and I love the way they moved it around. They moved it along. It was fun to watch that card.
Yeah, the card was good. The production's good. I don't know if they have anything scheduled next after this one because Amazon is the
Right.
only
That's
platform
scary.
for PC. They got all these fighters, man, and they have nowhere to fight.
Hmm.
They have nowhere to fight. That's
It's
crazy.
time to maybe Netflix is dipping their toe in the water like this. Maybe that's what this whole thing is. Like, hey, let's see what this crazy shit can do, and then maybe we'll delve into some real fights.
I know a guy who I work with. I think I've said that I work with HBO. He works for Netflix, and he helped to put this Tyson Paul thing together. And I asked him if they want to get into boxing. He said, "Yeah, we'll see. I think that means we're going to see how this turns out."
Right.
But I, if that fight even happens, because now it's in November, I thought the card was pretty good. Eyeballs are going to be on it, but is Netflix going to do like real? You know what I mean? Real fights. I don't
I
know.
rarely get excited for women's boxing, no offense, but I was hyped for that Serrano Taylor too, man. I was hyped for that fight. That
You
was
know,
a war. My wife and I watched that first one, and I mean, we were standing up. We were like, "Holy shit! This is a fight."
I had tickets for that in Madison
Oh,
Square Garden.
no! You're gonna tell me you flubbed it and didn't go?
I didn't go, but I didn't go because
No,
I was working for ESPN. I was in Joe
no.
Smith's camp in Long Island when he was fighting Beterbiev.
Better, yeah.
They had a unification fight. So I'm working. So I'm like, man, I can't go to the fight. I find out that Joe Smith's trainer went. He was like, oh man, you should have told me you had tickets. I would have brought you into the city. So
No.
I missed it, man, and it was packed. And I saw it live from a hotel room in Long Island. But I saw it. But I
Hey,
was
I watched it live too on the TV. It was good though, man. That's crazy. I don't know, man. I'm too much of a junkie, dude. I would have hitchhiked.
well. I could. Oh man, I didn't. But yeah. If they fight again, I mean, I'm looking forward to that card. But I don't know. I don't know if Netflix jumps into boxing or not. I really don't know.
Serrano after this last injury though, man, it has me worried. And her age, Katie Taylor's age too. I mean, plus the mileage on both of them. They've both been in some wars. I
Yeah,
was I was so proud of Taylor after that Cameron fight, that Cameron
the
rematch.
rematch. I was rooting.
Man,
I was rooting
I
for.
was too. And then she went out there and did what she did, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe that was a one-off. That first one. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know. I trilogy. I think she gets her again. The
yeah.
way
But
she
that
out,
spinal injury, it was like she got dye in her eyes from like a. It was that weird fight. Remember where she couldn't fight because the
yeah,
dye got in her
they were
eyes.
doing her hair, right? And I'm sure for a press conference. Yeah, and some kind of hot dye got in her eye and like singed her cornea. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
was
that
like, what in the? That's a first in boxing. It's got to be.
now that's November. The Kegi says I wouldn't count out Bozic. Lonnie B has sparred them both pretty recently and picked Bozic to win. Lonnie B, do you know Lonnie B?
Yes, yes.
I interviewed him, man, like a year and a half ago. He's had the weirdest career that
Yeah, it
I've
is.
seen.
It is a strange one.
I mean, he got knocked out by Kovalev at 175, and then he moved to 168, and he beat the guy. I forget his name, but he beat the guy who Caleb Plant won his belt from, and I can't remember the guy's name. But Lonnie B beat him. Lionel Thompson, we're talking about. He beat him, biggest fight of his career, and that was like 4 or 5 years ago, and he hasn't fought since. Lonnie B's been in the ring with Beterbiev. He hasn't fought since, and he said to me, I said, "You mean you can't get any fights?" No, man, fights keep falling through. He was supposed to fight on Pro Box not long ago, and he got hurt and he couldn't fight.
Really?
It's the weirdest career I think I've ever seen.
I see a lot of interviews with him right outside of the gym doors. So I'm like, dude, this dude is constantly sparring people, like constantly.
Well, he's also like 38 or 39 now. So, I mean, he fought Uzcategui, Jose Uzcategui. That's who Caleb Plant beat
That's who. Yeah,
68. So Uzcategui was his first fight back, and Lionel Thompson, they call him Lonnie B. He dropped Uzcategui in the first round, and he won a decision. Bro, that was in 2019. It's coming up on
wow.
5 years, and he hasn't fought since. Claims he hasn't been hurt. I've seen him do interviews on the Boxing Voice. He did an interview with me, and he's still just training.
I've
It's
seen
a
so many interviews of him right after he got done sparring people. He does them right outside the gym. Hit sweat pouring down his face and everything, and somebody will show up and be like, "What are you? I just got through sparring Benavidez. Let me tell you about him." And it's like, what are you like? What is going on? Why
But he legit was on. I want to say maybe 3-4 months ago. He was supposed to be on a pro box card, and he got, because I texted him and he said, yeah, he did something. He hurt his back, but God willing, I'll be back soon. And I don't know, man. It's one of the weirder stories in boxing.
I'll tell you this: online, he seems like a gym rat. Like he's always in the gym. So maybe he's one of those guys he don't have a lot of mileage on him because he's been inactive. So maybe he's one of those guys that steps up and gets a few fights, 39 or 40 years old, gatekeeper kind of thing.
Maybe, but it's just a shame because he was fighting at 175 for almost his whole career, and he's really small. And I remember he fought a lot of guys at 175, but Kovalev knocked him out. Kovalev knocked him out in 3 rounds back in 2012.
Well, he was that's when Kovalev was Kovalev.
But Lonnie B was unbeaten then. I think he was unbeaten, but I don't know, man. It's just no, he had 1 loss, but yeah, it's just a weird. There's a lot of different stories, man. And we know what's funny about him. Oh man, what's the Equalizer? That's the Denzel Washington movie, right?
Yeah.
The biggest thing when I interviewed him, I did like all this research on him, and I found an article, and I started the interview with it. He's watched The Equalizer like literally tens of thousands of times. It's like his favorite movie. I don't know why. It's a great movie, but
I watched the original series with my grandfather growing up. My grandpa was the TV series.
Oh man!
Oh yeah, man. He drove that green Jaguar. Oh man, that was a cool show. I remember watching that with my granddad. Yep, he was a fan of the original series.
Well, Lonnie B is a big fan.
Great. Denzel's awesome. So,
but yeah, Lonnie B, man, shout out to him.
I see him all the time on YouTube.
He thinks he's falling a sparring partner mode. It seems like he probably gets a lot of work because he's in the ring with Beterbiev in going to war with him. So it's too bad, man, because he's a real nice guy, like super likable, easy to root for.
And knows boxing, dude. Whenever you hear him talk in an interview, he can break stuff down because he's been in the ring with a lot of these guys that we're all watching now. I'm telling you, George, that guy spars continuously. He has to. Every time I see him on YouTube, it's because he's right outside the gym talking to somebody that's interviewing him on his phone.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
I'm guessing he makes his living now as a sparring partner.
He lives in the gym. I promise.
No shame in that, but it's just too bad because I would have liked to see what he could have done at 168 because he really looked good against Uzcategui, and we'll never. That's 5 years ago. That's 5 years ago.
Yeah, that makes me feel even older.
5 years ago. So, all right, man. I'm getting that. I want to do a quick hour. I'm glad you jumped on. Hey,
me too. I will get this camera situated. I look like a ghost. I'm in the Matrix.
Well, you got your virtual background, so
I picked a boxing gym. I thought it was a cool pick. Bunch of heavy bags.
So, but like George said, you're a real person. So I think people just maybe they thought I was talking to AI.
I am not a bot.
And so somebody, I forget who said it. Somebody said Your camera was so bad you look like David Benavidez, but that's not a bad thing. I could just say
Hey,
I'm talking to David Benavidez.
I'll take his bank account and boxing skills any day.
All right, brother, man. I'll be on this week, so we gotta talk some more boxing.
All right, George. It was good to talk to you, man.
All right, bro. Talk soon.
All right.
All right. My man, Jeremy, aka Dumb Tech Dad. There's nothing dumb about him. But I'm about to get out of here. Yankees playing the Dodgers. Are the Yankees winning? They won. Yankees beat the Dodgers. So it's a good night. They finally got a win. Make sure you subscribe to One Round with George. I'm giving away something better than money. And this is what it is. That's not it. This is what it is.
Subscribe to my YouTube page and you can win a once-in-a-lifetime, no expenses paid trip to check out the boxing memorabilia in my garage and in my home office. You can come hit the heavy bag and go through the hundreds of boxing magazines I have, and even take a picture with a life-size Oscar De La Hoya cardboard cutout that I took when I was at HBO.
You saw that, right? You saw that last shot, right?
Once in a lifetime, no expenses paid trip to check out the boxing memorabilia in my garage and in my home office. You can come hit the heavy bag and go through the hundreds of boxing magazines I have, and even take a picture with a life-size Oscar De La Hoya cardboard cutout that I took when I was at HBO. Whoops. Subscribe now for your chance to win all of this.
So there you go. Make sure you subscribe. JD Blanca. I haven't watched Pro Box since you left. Appreciate you. Neither have I, JD. So we share that in common. Always rooting for my boys over there. Paulie and Chris and Teddy and Tim and Sean. So always rooting for those guys. But yeah, I do not watch anymore. My man, Jeremy. Everybody have a great night. I appreciate everyone who was on here. Make sure. I love new faces. The Keggy. We got JD Blanca. So make sure you subscribe. Man, you win that trip and take that picture with the Oscar De La Hoya cutout. That can be yours. And you can, I've got boxing magazines all over the place behind me. You see what's on the wall. You come check out this office. Come check out the boxing memorabilia. Talk some more boxing this week. And don't forget, I'm gonna show a piece that was done on me when I was in the Philippines with Manny Pacquiao, because Manny Pacquiao is back in the news since he may be back at the age of 45. That dude can't stop boxing, man. So, 10 o'clock, Sunday night, June 9th. Peace out, everybody.